Alright guys, welcome back to the Anonymous Miner channel, and today I've got this Elmore Labs PCIe meter to look at. So, let's open up this box. Right away, we got some cables in here. Looks like there is 5 cables. They are 18 gauge. They're okay feeling. If I compare them to these Deep in the Mines cables that I have over here that are 16 gauge, these Deep in the Mines 16 gauge cables they feel like they're twice as thick as these 18 gauge. So right off the bat, I'm a little discouraged by that. These cables are pretty cheap, it seems. Let's get into here. So here we go. Here's the actual board itself. Alright. And here's the little screen for it. It's detached when it comes in the box, so we're going to have to attach this little screen. And then down in here we have some acrylic pieces that go onto it. This one's going to go over the screen, and it looks like this is going to go onto the back of the meter itself. This is to plug into the board over here, and it'll go over to your computer or whatever you're going to run this on. And these are some standoffs and pieces to put it together. So let's get this put together real quick, and then I'll show some readings. Alright, so here's the Elmore Labs PCIe meter, and it looks like it's a lot more biased than those other meters I was using. It's flashing 6 there for a second on the amperage, and I know for a fact that discharger is not getting up to 6 amps. So, if it's a full amp off at 6, that means it's 12 watts off. That's a lot. So all the way up to 11 amps there. And PCIe 1 again. Right? And 12.3 volts. 12.3 volts. Got 12.26 volts over here. So it only has a single decimal place, so that makes sense, but I don't know. I don't like this meter. So that's at 10 amps. Let's push it up higher and see what happens. Alright, so it's reading 190 to 200 watts there, and 15 to 16 amps, right? And that thing's pulling 15 amps. At the wall we're showing 208, 209 watts, 180, 207, 209, right? And then again here, on PCIe 1 we're showing 200 watts, look at that. Flashing 200 watts. That's the same reading as the wall. Yeah, this meter, not good. Alright, so now it says we're pulling, with my discharger, 18 amps and 220, 230 watts. Right? Alright, now let's look at the wall. Oh look, we're pulling 239 at the wall. So this meter is absolutely incorrect and inaccurate, and I'm not very happy with it. This one at all. This one? No. I'll make my own. Alright, so a couple things I just want to show real quick. First of all, I have this meter plugged in, right? This is Nemesis, first of all. Nemesis is part of the DCA Adventure YouTube crowd, right? He's the Crypto and Hot Rods host. He's a really nice guy, and I made this for him. So This is plugged into my breakout board, which is attached to my server power supply. Okay, my server power supply is a platinum server power supply with the blue plug here, and it is reading 0.2 watts because it's coming over here, and I have this meter plugged in to this one. So that is taking about 0.2 watts to turn on that screen. So now I want to show this too. I'm going to calibrate this, right? So if I hold this button down, timeo, speed, address, cal, and then I'm going to push and hold again, done. So it's calibrated. It says it's pulling 0 amps, 0 watts now, correct? So now, let me turn this on. What's it set to? Looks like we're at... Okay, so that's 5 amps, 10 amps, 15 amps, 20 amps. So I'm going to set it to 20 amps, which means it's going to pull its maximum of 200 watts. Okay? So now we're going to pull 200 watts through here, through there, and we're going to start reading that. It's going to take a minute to ramp up to that 200 watts. But let's check this out. PCIe 1. Looks like we're getting a reading of about 80 watts now, 90 watts. And this one's showing 93 watts, 96 watts, 97, 100. This one's higher though. This one's constantly higher. So let's see what this ramps all the way up to. And now let's show this too. So this is at 140, 150, 160. And this is the wall, 180. 186, 194, 200, 203. Okay. And we're at 191 on this meter. Okay. And then let's also show this. So, if I put positive here, right? Put the positive lead there, and the negative lead there. We have 12.21. 12.21. Okay? This one's showing 12.2, 12.17. This one, let's go back to PCIe, showing 12.1 volts. Okay? And look at that, 222, 225 watts. 210 watts. This thing is set to only pull 200 watts. It's a 200 watt smart discharger, and it's very close to 200 watts, as I've measured before with some other tools that I have. So this is almost exactly 200 watts. Yet, reading 230 here, 225, 230, and we're reading 213 here, 212. So this one is wrong as well, but it's much more accurate than that one is. That one's way wrong. I mean, look at this again. So let's go 220, 225, right? Look at the wall. 240, 229, 240. So somewhere in there. And this thing's reading almost that much. Oh, I skipped it. So total power, 220. This one, 210. So this one, although still incorrect, is very close. And now, I want to take a look at these real quick. And what this is it's a part that comes with these meters. So this is one of those meters before I install it, right? And this is the back side of the meter. And the way that I'm wiring this up is I'm wiring the positive into the meter to power it into this slot, right? And then the negative into that meter to power the meter. And then the negative side of the shunt right here goes into that slot, right? So right there's a little extra screw. It's that extra screw. So you put the negative, this piece goes right there,
and then this piece goes right there, and then that little screw on the other side goes right there into that last slot. And so what that's doing is it's testing this. What this is actually is it's a resistor. And so what they've done here is you can see where they've put these 2 cuts on this one, and they only have 1 cut on this one. And what that is it's a calibration. And they have calibrated this resistor so that it will read a specific value when the current is flowing through it. And the current induces heat, and it changes the way that this resistor works, and that's what they're measuring between these 2 posts here, is the resistance of this black piece. And again, it's adjusted by these little cuts in it. And so they've actually calibrated this to work with this screen. And that's why it's not perfect, but these ones are very close when you start reading all these wattages and stuff, right? And so I'm going to find another meter where it comes with one of these shunts and the same thing. This, by the way, this is called a shunt, right? This thing, this with the resistance in here, the little resistor, right? And when you do that, you can also fine-tune the meter. Now this meter was only $17, it's very cheap, but I think for like 30 or so, I'll look for it. I'm going to do some more videos about it. There's a calibratable one where you can fine-tune it, and that like 10 watts that I've been showing this whole time or so. Some of them are better than others, but I saw a maximum of about 10 to 12 watts on these meters off. That can be fine-tuned so that it reads exactly what it's supposed to, or what there is, because everything can change, like the way that these plug in, these cables, and then when I'm cutting them and I'm putting these crimps in here, because here's what's inside that box, okay? So I've got 3 of these cables, and then I've cut it off, and I've stuck it through a big lug like this, right? And I made all the wires long enough so that I can see them. I can see every single one come through the other side, and then I crimp it really well with a special tool, right? So then I have that end, and I have this end, and these are going to bolt on like that to either side of this shunt, okay? And so that's how I'm just making these meters, and Red Llama has another video about this, Red Llama Crypto. I'll leave a link down below. But that's how I'm making these meters, and then I'm just adding a little bit of wire and going over it, like the same thing. The only difference between what I'm doing and he's doing is these lugs right here. And so these are for like battery terminals on a car, and they work really, really well. And there again, you can see that I stuck all the wires, I made sure they all came through the other side, and then I crimped it. And I made sure that they're all in there, right? And I didn't solder it because that can cause some problems sometimes. As long as you get a nice crimp on here, it'll be fine. And these are really thick gauge wires as well. And then along one of these orange wires, which is the power wire, the positive wire, right in the middle here where it would be inside the box, I actually just use a razor blade and I carefully shave off a little bit of metal, or not a little bit of metal, a little bit of insulation, and I expose the metal, the wire, and I don't damage the wire, and then I wrap another wire around it. And that's how I get the power for the back side of this meter, where it says DC in from the power right here. If I hold it the right side up, it's the bottom side, right? So you want to make sure you do that, and then you also want to make sure you get the ground. You don't want to put the ground on the same screws here. You want to make sure you get the ground over here for the meter. So you could crimp an extra wire into this connector, or you could put 2 of these connectors down on here and have another wire go over to the meter. But that's the way I'm doing it inside of these boxes, right? And so that's it. I just wanted to show again the resistance, the way that they change these and they tune them or calibrate them from the factory, right? Like this one has 2 cuts in it, and this one has 1. Okay? That's to calibrate these things. And then it says right on it too that this one's for 100 amps, right? So that's the way they're doing this. Okay, well, thank you guys for tuning in today to the Anonymous Miner channel. I will do more about these meters and how to test them and how to calibrate some maybe. It depends on what you guys like. I'm also thinking about selling some of these meters or kits for them or just giving it away. I don't know. It really depends on what you guys think. So comment down below if you want to see more about this, and I will get back to you. Thank you guys, and have a great one.